Smoking.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis, Jared Petty, Sam Claiborne.
I'm just quoting The Mask.
Yeah, you know. We got a great show for this week. We're going to talk about video game movies. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy 15. But first, this week, IGN turns 20 years old.
Goodness
That
gracious.
sounds like you're wrong.
20th,
Is it
but I'm
possible?
not.
Surely that can't be right.
In only 5 years,
Believe
we
it.
can rent a car.
You've only been here 10.
Yeah, I've been here for half of that time.
Wow.
That time.
Yeah, this week is actually IGN's real 20th anniversary, as amazing as that may seem. And to celebrate, we're throwing a party next month here in San Francisco.
We're going to be 20 years old in 1 month.
Yep.
That's the time to celebrate.
Yep. Don't know how many months that is. No way to find out how many months that is.
No one knows.
On October
We're not
15th,
scientists.
on October 15th, we're throwing a party here in San Francisco. That means there's going to be a live game scoop, live game shows like video game Who Am I? We're going to have other shows there. We're going to have drinks, prizes, guests. It's going to be
All at once.
if you want to attend, just go to 20yearsofgaming.eventbrite.com. Weird that IGN isn't in the actual URL there, but anyway. 20yearsofgaming.eventbrite.com.
Word years.
You're also going to come by the IGN office on Friday night if you come in a day early for that, because we have a First Friday on that this is included in. So that'll be a big group in the office, but you get to see where Game Scoop is made, what's actually happening behind that camera.
Anything you see on Damon's
what you
desk, you're
expect.
free to take.
Yeah. Not much there. But actually, there's my Waffle House mug, and if you took my Waffle House mug, I would be pretty upset.
What happened to the Peggle mug?
I dropped it, but that was years ago.
Scoop.
But
I'm over
these
that.
house party events are always so energetic, and this one being the 20th, I am pretty darn juiced for it. It's just about my favorite.
Not the
thing I do
20th house party.
No,
but
the 20th.
Dude, websites
anniversary.
don't turn 20.
No.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, how many websites?
Surely it's a
I was
typo.
reading IGN like after it, probably 98.
That's what I was
And
going to
it
ask.
was
Is
around
do you remember the very
86?
first time you visited IGN?
Yeah, Majora's
Do you
Mask
remember your
chats.
earliest IGN memories?
Exactly when it was, because I was trying to find all the stars in Mario 64.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it
That's
was
what-
N64.com.
I went to
right?
n64.com and read their Super Mario 64 Star Guide, and that was the first time
And
I
isn't
ever
that
remember.
insane that someone other than Nintendo had N64.com?
Yeah.
Do you think that if they
Right?
hadn't managed to secure that terrific URL, that IGN would be around today?
It's so
No.
crazy. It's like, the kids are playing this League of Legends. I'm going to LeagueOfLegends.com. I made it.
Yeah, there we
Got
go.
it. I'm
There
your
we go.
resource
Got
for
it.
League of Legends.
For a while, I owned Mario Kart DoubleDash.com.
That's pretty great.
I had
I also owned
ProjectCafe.com.
DwarfFortress.com.
Pretty good.
I had Goldbox Games for a while.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
IGN has some saucy URLs that I won't be sharing on
Well,
this podcast.
Stormtroopers is-
Just try them all and see which ones go to
Stormtroopers.com.
IGN.
Just think anything saucy you can think of.
Stormtroopers?
Ooh, yeah, we own that.
With an S?
Yeah. It
Go to
goes
Stormtroopers.com. Stormtroopers.com is having its 20th anniversary coming up. We're having a party.
Yeah.
I also own TouchFuzzyGetDizzy.com.
That's
own,
so good.
I
My
own-
favorite Yoshi's Island level.
It's
I have
everyone's, yeah.
PizzaAndDinosaurs.com, and I'm going to put that to good use one day.
Wow.
Did you know there's a Pizza Dinosaur organization in the WarioWare universe?
What?
Pizza Dinosaur?
Tell me more of this.
We can
Like a
talk
pizza
about it
store?
after.
That's for another
It's
show.
the evil pizza delivery service, and Mona's Pizza is the good pizza delivery service. There's a whole song about it. This is Mona's Pizza.
Why don't I remember this?
Because I've played more WarioWare than you.
I think that's probably true.
Okay. Our first topic this week comes from Big Tony Style. He emailed us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like you could.
Are we going to see him next month, you think?
I hope so.
Is he going to be on the GameScoop panel next month?
If he comes, we'll definitely bring Big Tony Style up on stage.
Oh, wow.
It's a
That's an
big
incentive
promise.
right there.
He's basically the 5th cast member.
Yeah, it's true. Big Tony Style says,
Sorry,
over the
Vince.
weekend, I watched Event Horizon, and all I could think about is how much it influenced the plot and setting for Dead Space, which is one of my favorite games of the last generation. You guys were talking about your memories of Event Horizon. I've actually never seen that movie.
It's incredibly spooky.
Would you recommend it?
That is Paul W.S. Anderson's best movie.
Who's the good Paul W. Anderson?
Who's seen it most recently, you think? I haven't. I saw it in 1999 or whatever it came out, 98.
Many years ago, yeah.
So I can't recommend it now because it might
you
be
thought it
terrible.
was scary at the time, at least.
Yeah,
So-
it becomes a horror movie really suddenly.
Yeah.
That's
Like
what
a
I
gory
didn't,
horror movie.
and I didn't know. I thought it was just a fun sci-fi adventure, and that makes it 10 times scarier.
No,
can you imagine seeing a horror movie not knowing that what you were watching was a horror movie?
I think if that's ever
And
happened.
how scary that would be.
It takes a hard left turn. You're just like, dun da da, we're in space. Ah! Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Goodness gracious.
The best sci-fi horror movie is Stanislaw Lem's Solaris. Now, both those movies are kind of crappy.
Yeah.
I should say the best story. The
book's
because
really
the
good.
book is really cool, and I think that it drew a lot from that. It's about going to a planet and then like having something unexpected happen that's supernatural. I think those are really neat themes, and I think Doom also did that really well.
Do you prefer Solaris to Alien?
Doom?
Doom, not the movie. The game.
Okay.
Oh,
I think
did
it's
it
really
right.
neat.
We're talking
That
about movies,
okay, they
so-
went to Mars. They drilled. That's where Dead Space comes from. I mean, come on. They went to Mars. They started drilling, and then demons came out because it's actually hell. Isn't that the plot of
this,
Doom?
roughly. I mean, they built a gate, but it's roughly the same thing. Yeah, it's
Stargate?
very close.
You don't think Alien is a sci-fi horror movie?
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah,
Solaris
sure.
is better than Alien.
I think the book is like the best sci-fi horror combination.
We're
ever.
talking about movies here.
Yeah, that's true. But there is a classic Solaris movie. That's what I was going to recommend, and it's really good. It was made by Soviets in Russia, and it's awesome.
The new one's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. George Clooney.
Sorry.
Anyway, Event Horizon. I'd recommend it. Where are we going with
the
this?
new one's a 6.8.
Big Tony Sal says, we've seen other games borrow themes from movies quite effectively, like Uncharted borrowing from Indiana Jones. My question is, why do you think that some games are able to translate movies into good experiences? More often than not, games do not translate as well to the big screen.
Well,
So
I think that
taking movies, turning movies into games works well. Turning games into movies doesn't work well.
I think there's two reasons for that. First,
You think
very
there's two?
often.
I think there's three. Let's compare notes.
All right, let's compare
Yes.
notes.
Which
Fir-
one are you forgetting?
Okay, yeah, which one am I forgetting? First, very often the people interested in making video game movies don't know a lot about the games.
That was one of them.
Movies
That's
about,
one of them.
That's one of them.
They don't understand or completely appreciate the source material.
Yeah, or care a lot of the time when they're just like, oh, this is hot with the kids. Let's make a movie
But then it
about that.
also, it's like, what's the point? If you're going to adapt something, but then do it in a way that just angers the people that are fans of that source material, what do you even do that for?
Because when they're angry, they talk about it and they still show up. I think that's a lot of it. But the second part is that beyond that record, and also it's easy to sell. Like, oh, everybody's heard of this. So you walk into the production meeting to get the venture capital, and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. I'll give you money.
Yeah.
The second thing is that games are not typically designed to be that kind of experience. We just got an announcement that we know now Firewatch is going to be a movie. I think Firewatch has the potential to be one of the very first good video game movies because it's written with constant story-oriented, person-to-person dialogue. That's the point of the game.
Do you think they're going to get? Are they going to get the actor Harry Crane?
I don't know.
I would have rather watched Firewatch than play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
that's a game
It
that's
is beautiful.
I mean,
designed.
watch is right there in
So
the name.
pretty.
Yeah, it's a game designed around
Watch
dialogue
is
and
right in the name.
scenes and encounters. But most video games
Fire
are not
play.
that way. Most video games have other goals in mind first and foremost when they're designed, and therefore they just don't translate well.
Yeah, I would modify your second answer to say that traditionally video games have not even had very good stories.
Right.
When people started making video games, a writer was not part of the development team. Right. One of the coders, one of the designers, just like thought up a story.
Well, actually, in
Or
games-
the people that made the
writers.
instruction book thought up the story, as in the case of Super Mario Brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
Where they were just like, hey, did you know that all the people in the Mushroom Kingdom were turned into blocks?
Yeah.
But then if you actually think about it, that person probably didn't play a lot of Super Mario Brothers because that means you're viciously murdering all of the mushroom people
Yeah.
who have been turned into blocks.
Yeah.
Everyone that you hit with your head.
Yes.
Although to be fair, in Japanese production, you very often had someone assigned a scenario, even early on, that was supposed to be kind of a continuity focused person. So there was some story emphasis over there.
Like
Yeah,
in
I mean-
Pac-Man?
No, not like a Pac-Man.
Galaga.
When you're making a movie, every single thing, every single person involved in that production, and every element of what you see on screen is in service of telling a story that has a finite beginning and end, and it's all incredibly tightly controlled to make you feel nervous or excited or scared or just awed by camera angle and music and tone and all of that. And in a game, you put the player in control, and all that's taken away from you. So you gain some things in exchange. You gain the ability to let the player influence the story, which is an incredibly powerful storytelling device, but you lose the ability to just think about how important timing is in film, but in a game like Uncharted, like you would never write a scene that said, and then Nathan Drake, clambered around for 10 minutes in a room looking for secrets. Like, it's hard to pace a game story to the same degree. They'll never be able to match, the storytelling ability of, a movie or book, in my opinion.
Plus, games are much, much longer than movies. So like Assassin's Creed, the movie is coming out.
Yeah.
And there's been some really, really good Assassin's Creed games, and they've told some pretty cool stories. But like, it's a saga that spreads out over like hours and hours and hours, dozens of hours for each individual game, hundreds of hours, and they're going to be like 2 hours in a movie. It's like, what are they even gonna cover?
No collectibles.
Yeah.
You have to have, when I think about games, even games that I loved that had, I thought the story in The Witcher 3 was great, but that story has to service 60 plus hours of gameplay. So by its, how could that possibly compete, with the story of a really tightly, compacted, just a 2 hour movie? Or
The Witcher is a funny example because it's a big amalgamation of stories.
Right.
Like, you have your overall story, and if you just wrote out what the plot of that was, it's like following Ciri and then all this stuff. Like, that's actually a pretty short story, but every one is like a standalone movie. Every monster hunt where like the village like explains what's going on, you solve the problem. Those are all stories. So like, games aren't even. If they're good stories, sometimes there's just a bunch of stories that they're.
Well, also The Witcher is part of a multimedia, kind of franchise. I mean, there are television shows about The Witcher
I think there's
in
movies.
Eastern Europe. Yeah, and so and you have short stories, and right. So that's the other end that gets involved. You have something like Resident Evil, which should make a good movie. It isn't a good movie. Again, Paul W.S. Anderson. But it should have been. The first one's, but it could have been better. But that's a game that's really mostly based on movie fiction that's coming in, and it's just sort of so even in that situation, you're just retelling a familiar story. And so the places like The Witcher or Resident Evil, where you have gotten adaptations, it very often still isn't necessarily going to work out because you're just re-referencing something that's already been made.
The good news is that there's already great movies that are based on video games, like Aliens, based on Contra. Maybe it's the other way around.
Pretty much the way around.
Both great, though.
And you can pair them up. On Predator.
Castlevania.
And Rambo.
Monster Squad.
Yeah, definitely based on Monster Squad. Absolutely.
See, whichever one came out first, it doesn't matter, because they're a good pair.
Yeah, that's true.
I will say that, Sam brings up a great point, that the actual plot of The Witcher is 2 paragraphs of text, but there's so much depth. There's more to story than sort of, I was being a little reductive earlier, like just being able to wander around and explore that world when there's no dialogue and no plot and no anything, like, that is story. Like, they've created story through their environmental artists and through, the NPC routines, and just through the map, and the weathering on it, and the land, and the plot of these nations at war. And that's not what the story's about, but that's still storytelling, interactive storytelling in a way that's, really unique and interesting. And obviously, given the job that I have, like, I love it. But I do think that in terms of telling a pure, point A to point B story, it's very, very hard to compete with, a film or novel where that's the only thing it has to do. It doesn't have to think about gameplay as well.
Yeah.
So what was your third, Damon? I'm curious, back from the beginning of the discussion.
We've already covered them.
We hit them all. All right.
Yeah. Greenlit by...
You already forgot it again, Jared.
Yeah.
You have to go back and watch it.
To summarize, greenlit
All right.
and put into production by people who don't know about video games or don't really care. Traditionally, video game movies or video game stories either suck or they just don't translate well to the screen. And video games are much, much longer than movies. And it doesn't make any sense to try to
condense there we are. You had to hit them all.
Moving on, this is Greg from Las Vegas.
What's up, Greg?
Think it's Greg Miller?
It's probably Greg Miller. Sure. He must have moved.
Yeah.
Greg is so Vegas.
Yeah. He says this Friday, which would be September 30th, 2016, Final Fantasy 15 was originally meant to be released, but as we all know, was unfortunately pushed. My question is this: where does Square Enix and Final Fantasy go after this? I've been a lifelong fan, but wonder if the series hinges on the success of Final Fantasy 15. If the game fails, then do they hang the series up or do they try again with 16? Or maybe even a reboot of the whole franchise? The same can be asked if it is a success as well. Where do you think they go after Final Fantasy 15, succeed or fail?
I think after that, you take Final Fantasy, they're going to refocus on 7. That remake's going to be a big deal for them. I think they're putting a lot of a lot of their moxie into making sure that comes out a good thing. But if 15 is successful and 7 is successful, yeah, definitely they make a 16. They'll also continue to support a very active 14 online community, which is good for them. I think we'll see it.
Second biggest traditional MMO.
Is it? Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
What,
I don't know, like
after Warcraft?
Yeah, like when you mix in EVE Online and stuff, it gets a little messy. The point I'm making is 14 has been a huge success for them.
But yeah, I think you'll see a 16. I think 15 could flop and you'll still see a 16, but I think there'll be a cooling off period. They're also going to allocate resources to Kingdom Hearts because they know that's almost a surefire success, and that's good for them. And I think you might see them continuing to. They've dipped their toe in the mobile pool several different ways, and they're going to keep experimenting there.
There are dozens and dozens of Final Fantasy properties on mobile now, right?
Yeah, a lot. Not many of them developed by Square Enix internally, although a few are. They typically license it out to, DNA has the game I like a lot, for example.
Yeah, I once had a BlackBerry that had a version of Final Fantasy I published by Namco on it. I still can't figure out what that was all about.
What an oddity.
That was really weird.
There's new Final Fantasy games this year, too. It's like Final Fantasy 15 is the only game out this year. There was just a mobile Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, there was a couple this year.
There's also World of Final Fantasy, also coming to PlayStation
So
4
that
and Vita.
license isn't going anywhere. I mean,
No, there's no way they will drop it. Final Fantasy is Square Enix's best-selling franchise by a wide margin.
You do have to think about when you extend to so many different genres and gameplay styles, and you mentioned a reboot, but each Final Fantasy is already a reboot of itself. And what does that mean? Like, there must be someone at Square Enix that's concerned about what does it mean to be a Final Fantasy game? Does it mean it has to have the crystals in it? Does it have to have that overture music in the beginning?
Chocobos.
And chocobos, and that's it. Like after that,
Guy named Sid.
Got to have a guy named Sid, except for in Final Fantasy 1.
Yep, but they are gonna.
That doesn't have chocobos either.
No, it does
Got
not.
crystals.
But
It might be Sid. Is Sid the one that gives you the airship?
There is no Sid in Final Fantasy 1.
It's a professor.
Although I think they
Sidless.
retroactively added Sid to certain
Yeah.
versions, but I could be wrong about that. I can't remember for sure.
So. I think that's true.
He's definitely in 4.
Yeah, but anyway, moving on from that though, from the Sidcast. No, they do have an identity crisis. They went through this period a few years ago where they were doing so many spin-offs, particularly on handheld platforms, that the brand almost got oversaturated, and I think they did pull back from that. We'll see a 16 because it's flagship, but let's also not forget that Damon, you just said Final Fantasy is by far their biggest thing. Yes, it is over here, but in Japan, Dragon Quest is still a huge deal. And so that's another end of their business that they're going to continue to kind of bounce back and forth between.
They got to catch up, though.
Yeah, exactly. They're 4 back. Yeah, they're 4 back there. But I think
they'll spend the next 20 years doing that.
Dragon Quest has never really broken through over here the way they'd like for it to. But I do think that in addition to pushing 16, their entire company doesn't hinge on 15. They do have other bases in their home territory to stand on if this flops.
Well, I also get the sense that, no, it's not great that Final Fantasy 15 has been in development for years and years and years. And I personally love 12, but I can respect the opinion of people that, felt it was too different. I respect Square Enix taking risks with such their big, massive AAA franchise. And I think partially they do that because they are allowed to keep Dragon Quest very traditional.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest doesn't really innovate at all. And there's some exceptions. What was the...
Well, 9 was very different, and 10 is an MMO.
So I guess maybe,
which
that's
is
true.
actually very successful in Japan.
They have mixed that up, but for a long time, Dragon Quest was content to be, very traditional, very by the numbers JRPG, whereas Final Fantasy was their franchise that, a different magic system every single game, moving it into the future, evolving from its fantasy roots.
Guns, swords, and lasers.
Yeah, and 2 MMOs. So props to Square Enix for challenging what we think Final Fantasy is. And to me, answering the question of what is Final Fantasy, I think it's I think they always want it to be the future of JRPGs.
Yeah.
Like it's the standard bearer for this whole style of game.
Yeah.
That they would like it to be.
Many other series that are in their teens. I can only think of one, King of Fighters.
Oh yeah, jeez,
Call of Duty, I think it was out.
Call of Duty.
But they don't number them.
Yeah, but to actually number, it's really funny. Dynasty Warriors?
It is people.
Dynasty Warriors, I think so.
It's such an eternal joke. I feel like people that don't play video games, like, how can there be 16 of them?
Yeah.
How do you keep up with? Like, it is funny. We're so immersed in this space that it doesn't even cross my mind. But to hear blank 15 sounds insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, for there to
Not
have
as
been,
insane as Kingdom Hearts 365 over 2.
I know.
Yeah.
But most franchises,
also a Square property.
like, they
64. I
stop
actually
once you
don't
reach
remember the exact
once you reach
numbers for
4
it,
or
sorry.
5. Franchises say, "No, we're not doing numbers anymore. It sounds too weird." Assassin's Creed did it. They all do it. Call of Duty did it.
Yeah.
Well, there were how many Friday the 13th movies are there? It went up to 8, and then there was Hell, 9.
And then Jason X.
Jason X, 10.
Yeah.
That's actually
Freddy
really,
versus
Sam, you got
Jason.
me thinking now. Like,
Last
what entertainment properties on Earth have continued numbering, like
Yeah.
outside of comic books and stuff like that?
Mega
that
Man got
high?
to 10.
There's a lot of Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But even those
they're-
aren't.
they're
Even
single
those aren't
digits
numbered.
still, so-
Yeah, they're still single digits.
Yeah.
It's so funny to hear anything that's number 18.
Yep.
All right, moving on. This is Dave.
Hey, Dave.
What's up, Dave?
He says, with the impending launch of PlayStation VR, just a couple weeks away, I don't think we have seen many previews of any of the launch titles on IGN. Being a longtime Wing Commander fan, I'm really looking forward to Eve Valkyrie. I'm wondering what, if any, launch titles you might be looking forward to when PSVR arrives.
He just said mine.
What, Eve?
Yeah, I'd like to see what Valkyrie's like in VR. I think that's an exciting prospect.
Well,
I mean,
you played it on Oculus.
Yeah, I played it on Oculus, but I've only played earlier versions, and
Yeah,
I'd
me
really like to
too.
get in and see how it finally
But
came out.
space games are what VR is all about. You're
Yeah.
going to love them. They're so fun.
Well-
if you haven't played them yet, they're really fun.
Space combat games kind of got left behind. They stopped making them for
Yeah.
a while,
Well,
or at
actually,
least in
we're
one.
gonna-
We're going to talk about that topic here.
Oh, are we?
Sitting,
Let's go after that.
sitting in a chair is just, it's smart, right? Like,
Yeah.
then it,
Yeah,
is a-
well, it solves the problem of what
cockpit.
how is your character moving in VR when you're not moving?
Yeah, it actually feels a little better. Like I was driving, and I expect more out of a driving game in my mind when I'm playing an Oculus.
Well, when I got this email, I realized I wasn't really familiar with all the PlayStation VR launch titles, so I looked them up on IGN.com.
Here we go.
And I have them all here. And actually, what I learned is that it's a little. I wouldn't say it's a terribly impressive launch lineup.
It's just like Oculus and Vive, where there's
Sure.
a bunch of tech demos that are really interesting
Yes.
in their official stores, but people are making
Well, and there's some
creative
stuff
different games.
like like Batman. We
Not
don't
long.
know how long it is, or how
We know
extensive
it's
it is, or
short.
how gamey it is. So it's like
Yeah, so in alphabetical order, we would start with Batman Arkham VR.
Okay.
We should know it's Rocksteady and it's Batman, but it's supposed to be really short.
incredibly
Yeah,
impressed us at E3.
Yeah, for sure. Then there's Battlezone, which I think is just like Eve Valkyrie in a tank.
Yeah, and Battlezone actually intrigues me. One, because I played a lot of the original Battlezone.
Well, who
and,
didn't?
Is it the
yeah.
same license?
Yes,
Everyone
it
else.
is. It is the same license.
So somebody got it from Atari?
Yeah, it is
That's-
Battlezone.
Yeah, it is a
Can
Battlezone
you get to the
game.
mountains?
I don't know if you can get to the volcano.
volcano, sorry.
That's the deciding factor if you can get to the volcano. But yeah, Battlezone is a classic arcade game, and it seems kind of tailor-made for VR.
Yeah, I think so too. Then there's Eve Valkyrie, as we mentioned. And then there's Harmonix Music VR.
I have not touched this.
I don't know if that
I think
is.
it's a series of mini games, tech demos where you can interact with the music.
Wii Music
3D space.
2.
Yeah, kind of.
But maybe better.
Headmaster. Which one is that?
That's one apparently where it's kind of like a Dynamite Heady kind of thing where you're bouncing your head off things.
I'm sorry. No, it's like a football, like a soccer game where
That's
they're
right. It's
soccer balls are
sports.
flying
I
at
just
you
thought
and you have to hit them back.
Okay, so I'm wrong about
hit them
what
into
it
the goal and then hit them to knock down targets, stuff like that.
Don't
Headmaster.
listen to
Again,
me.
like something that totally makes sense for VR. I don't know how robust that experience is, but
It's like Fruit Ninja.
there's a horror game called Here They Lie.
Yeah, I don't know much about this.
No, it's a horror game.
I've only read a little.
Job Simulator is on there, which is a really funny premise, but it's already out on Steam and reviews are not that great.
No, Job Simulator is
played
a neat demo. It's a fun toy to introduce you to VR, and that's what it is.
You just wreck up a place.
Yeah,
It's fun.
Yeah. There's PlayStation VR Worlds, which is the earliest, like a collection of 4 of the earliest demos they showed off, where you're like in the shark cage underwater, where you're feeding the dinosaurs, that sort of thing. Res Infinite.
This is very intriguing.
Super legit?
Yep. Res is a spectacular game if you've never played it, and it's another natural fit for VR.
Yeah, rhythm action game.
Doesn't come with a trans vibrator though.
No, but the Trans Vibrator was never sold here in the States either, so that's not really that big a deal. We'll be fine with that.
Riggs Mechanized Combat League is a mech fighting game, I think sort of designed for esports.
Yes, I mean it's got an I don't know if it's meant to be an esport in like the literal sense of like they're trying to be an esport like Rocket League, but it's got an esports theme in the game. You're playing this futuristic sport where you're trying to dunk a ball in these big mech rigs.
I like to think of it as the long-awaited sequel to Smash TV. That's all.
It's kind of like Avatar.
Let's just do a
but
new
with
Smash
sports.
TV.
I have nothing else to say about that.
I'd love to play a modern take on Smash TV in first-person 3D.
Oh,
like
that'd be great.
like where you're actually like you do it like a Left 4 Dead style, where the hordes of enemies are all coming in.
Yeah,
You're
so
picking up fun power-ups and
There's some
For
great
more on that,
mutated
play
people.
Serious Sam.
Serious Sam.
Trackmania Turbo is coming. That's another game that's already out on PC
Bulletstorm.
and consoles. Arcade Racer, I think.
Yeah.
Thumper.
I don't know anything about
Thumper
Thumper.
is.
Yeah, Thumper is the rhythm. It's like a rhythm horror game.
Weird.
It's sort of a rhythm game in the sense that you're on a track that it's not exactly close to frequency or amplitude, but that's the general vibe. You're on a track, but it's very creepy and atmospheric, and then you're playing. It's like rhythm tapping gameplay.
Do you play as the titular hero of the Bambi series?
Yeah, it stars that weird rabbit.
Okay.
Weird rabbit. I guess along the same lines, Until Dawn: Rush of Blood is the Until Dawn game, but this is an on rails.
Yeah, you're on a roller coaster.
Yeah. War Thunder is a free-to-play MMO that's been out for 3 years.
Is that the MMO plane game? I think.
It could be.
War Thunder sounds like something somebody on Facebook would try to get me to play.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably on Facebook. Wayward Sky is called a look and click adventure. Within, the game is called Within. Not sure what that is. And then
I've heard of all these games, I just don't remember them now.
World War Tunes, which is
War
another
Tunes, yeah.
competitive. It's like a what's the cartoony Valve?
Team Fortress?
Like Team Fortress, yeah. It's got that sort of cartoon
Just
style.
give me the open world Toontown game my heart desires, and I'm never going to get.
But that's it. Like that's the launch lineup for PlayStation VR. So
Like Roger Rabbit Toontown?
Yeah, I want that game so bad. I want GTA Toontown.
there's nothing there that I'm like, I gotta buy myself a
each his own.
VR headset and play this on day one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm intrigued by Eve. I'm intrigued by Battlezone. Rez is probably the thing that of all of those that would most
Yeah.
pull me in, because Rez is such a proven, wonderful game, and it's got a lot of replay value. Even though it's a fairly short game, there's a lot of incentive to go back and perfect your Rez game.
We've talked about what I love doing in video games. Sam is the same way. I love exploring new worlds. Someone's going to make the game that it's a totally immersive sci-fi or fantasy game that drops me into a world where I'm free to wander around and explore and get into adventures. Someone's going to make that game, and I'm going to be dying to play it, but they have not made that game
Maybe
yet.
they know something we don't know about how tolerant you can actually be of VR,
Yeah,
because there's
maybe.
no long VR experiences still.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
There's no big open world games like that.
My theory is the first breakthrough game is not going to be a first-person experience. After playing Conquer on the HoloLens and the HTC Vive demo shooter game, where you're using your handheld controller as a third-person ship, I think it's going to be a third-person game that does something in 3D space that we've never seen before. Both of those experiences were things I could never have done on a conventional console
Did you guys
display.
play Lucky's Tale?
Lucky's Tale
That
is...
impressed the hell out of me.
Yeah, Lucky's Tale is a really good proof of concept of the same
Yeah.
kind of thing. I actually
Yeah.
think
On
the breakthrough
Oculus.
game is going to be like
It's
that.
just it's a 3D platformer
That's
like Banjo-Kazooie or something, but it's you can get the sense of scale of the level where your character seems like a little character and the level seems like a big miniature. And it just feels so cool to be manipulating that character in that space, because you have the sense of body still, and there's this little character hopping around. It's like it's hopping around the room, like your Conquer demo.
That makes
Yeah.
me think like
love
Nintendo could really do something cool with Mario.
Yes,
Oh,
That sort of thing.
absolutely.
You didn't the Super Hypercube. That's not a launch game, I guess.
It's not on IGN's list of PlayStation VR
I
launch
am
games.
95% sure Super Hypercube is a launch game. But
I mean, that game, if it's not, it's coming out soon. And that is another game that, no, it's not a big, expansive open world, but what excites me about it is it's never something that could be done outside of a VR context without some real trickery.
Yeah.
Maybe I've talked about it on GameScoop before, but there's a wall moving towards you, and you're manipulating a 3D shape, and you have to spin the shape and rotate it so that it fits through a cutout in the wall. But the VR part of it comes in. Your shapes get bigger and bigger and more complex, and you eventually have to start peeking around them. You have to either duck or look above or below. So you're peeking around and seeing what the shape is, and then you're sort of spinning the thing over here, and it's like. It's a very natural feeling way to get your whole body involved, and it doesn't feel.
It's a Polytron joint.
They're doing some co-development on it, but I don't think that they, were the designers. I think they're just like pitching in on getting it done. I'm not exactly sure on that. I like it and impressed with it because it's not like it's not like tricking you into it. Just feels very natural. It's just like it's not like, hey, and now peek around it to see what you need to do. It's just like it's the promise of VR. Just like there's no thought, you just melt into the game basically.
And then Final Fantasy and Star Wars Battlefront come out the same year, in another way.
Later this year. right?
Yeah.
There's also the Tomb Raider experience where you get to explore.
Oh yeah,
Croft
and Tomb Raider
Manor.
also.
Yeah, which is also next month. Not on launch day, but coming next month.
man, I want that Mario game now so bad. Oh.
Nintendo has so far not expressed interest in VR, but I think they could really do something cool in that space. You were talking about just a second ago, Jared, about the sort of recent resurgence of space shooters. Our next email comes from Michael, and he says, I recently discovered your show, and I'm hooked.
Ooh,
Hi,
nice.
Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Welcome.
It seemed for years that the space sim was dead and was never coming back. I remember playing amazing games like Wing Commander, Free Space, Star Lancer, Colony Wars, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, but after the early 2000s, the whole genre seemingly went away. Now space sim games are back and better than ever. Now you have Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, for better or worse, Everspace, Rogue Galaxy, and eventually Star Citizen, giving us space sim fans amazing new games this generation. It's never been a better time to be a fan of this genre.
Wow, I didn't think about
What
that.
are your thoughts on the current crop of space sims? Why did this genre of games seem to disappear for so long? And do you think it's here to stay this time?
I think they disappeared for a while because they didn't make console generation transition very well. That there wasn't a lot of emphasis on that. Part of making a video game in the era before digital distribution was you had to get somebody to pay a lot of money, put a lot behind it if you were ever going to have a chance of making it. And that means convincing venture capitalists that it's worth investing in. And when they can look at your space sim game, which is, well, not the hottest thing right now, or they can fund another first-person shooter, they're probably going to go where they feel their money's safer. And so for a while that happened.
I mean, I think video games just swung to consoles. You know,
Yeah.
the way, you know, the pendulum swung away from PCs onto consoles, and it was tough to pull them off on consoles.
Yeah, except I played Colony Wars on PlayStation. There were 2 Colony Wars on the original PlayStation, and I loved those games. Those were good. And then I played Rogue Squadron on GameCube.
Yeah.
That game was
I
incredible.
mean, Colony Wars is a little bit different than like something like TIE Fighter, though, for example. I mean, it's a more just different flavor of space shooter, I guess.
And you said No Man's Sky as an example of one of these?
He included it in one of his
Yeah, I think that's
examples
really
of recent
interesting.
ones.
I didn't think of it that way. It's not a good space shooter sim,
Yeah,
but it's a good
but
space
space
game.
sim.
Well, so that's a question that I had, maybe for someone like Jared that's played more of these games than me. They seem to come in sort of the ones that are just so perfect mechanically, like X-Wing, like you would never ever change anything about it, and then the ones that offer the freedom of an open universe to explore and trade, you know, more like a I don't know, a privateer.
I'd say they come in. Yeah, I'd say they come in 3 types. They come in the tight sims, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Those would be kind of the pinnacle of that. Then they come in the arcade style games,
dogfights.
which are the dogfighting games, like Rogue Squadron 2 is one that comes to mind immediately.
And there's one of those arcade games in arcades right now. There's a Star Wars Battle Pod.
Yeah, Star Wars Battle Pod, which is a kind of a rail shootery version of that, but a lot of fun. And those games remained popular on console for a long time. And then you have the open kind of an Elite. I think is obviously one of the great ones.
Like it's like Free Space.
Yeah, Star Citizen will be the newest or the most prominent new example.
Where
of that
if you never want to fight anybody, you can just trade spice all around the galaxy. That's
although eventually a space pirate's going to run you down. You've either at least got to have a way to break.
So is there
and
any
run.
game that was the perfect balance of like, you know, that open exploration but also had the tight gameplay? And
I don't think any game has ever completely nailed the trifecta on those. So they were generally enjoyed by the same kinds of fans, but they were separate. There are ones that come close. The original Elite is ridiculously good.
Yeah, for its time.
It comes to mind. And X-TIE, what makes X-TIE work so well is the campaign is so well designed that the scenarios are very tight there.
What is X-TIE?
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Okay. Those are not, geez, I said X-Wing. TIE Fighter, not X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, sorry. TIE Fighter, the scenarios are so tightly designed, and then X-TIE took that and made it multiplayer and built good scenarios around that, so it sort of iterated on it. No is the answer. I can't think of a game that gets them all perfect, but it is possible. Star Citizen is kind of gunning for that. We'll see if that happens.
No kidding.
My thing right now is that a lot of these games are focused on multiplayer, and I don't always want to. I mean, if I have to play multiplayer, I'd rather play a space shooter. I even like those levels at Battlefront, but I don't want to do that all the time. And some of the greatest like sequenced awesome missions in Rogue Squadron 2 are like my favorite flying I've ever done in any game. You know, I really like the idea of like a Star Destroyer falling out of space, and you have to like take out certain there's just like really cool missions in that game. Yeah, I love that game.
There was a moment at E3 this year where they were showing the beginning of the new Call of Duty. And when I was first watching it, I thought I was watching a Wing Commander reboot.
Yeah, me too. We all got really confused.
I was just like, if I see Kilrathi, I'm just going to fall on the floor. And it didn't happen.
You guys play the Halo games with the space shooter levels?
I remember. There was a
one in
rumor.
Reach where you go from the ground to a space elevator to space is awesome.
Well, so the conspiracy
Bungie
theory
should make
that was the last Halo game that Bungie made, or they might have made the one smaller game after that. But Bungie was already gearing up for Destiny, and they were 343 was already gearing up. Like that transition was happening. And the conspiracy theory was that Bungie used that money and that time as an excuse to figure out space combat for their Destiny project.
Yeah.
And then Destiny ended up not having space combat, but it's like...
Still possible that Destiny 2...
Yeah, like, was that just something that ended up getting cut?
Because remember they showed the ships earlier, like, it's customizable, and everybody's like, wow, why? It's just for a cutscene.
I'm sure it's one of those decisions, one of those tough calls that, like, 2 years before the game came out, they're like, guys, we just can't do space combat in this first Destiny. But I suspect that that's part of why it was just so out of place. It was badass in Halo, but still out of place.
Yeah, it's totally out of place.
The success of MOBAs makes me wonder if we could have a real return to a hard space sim as something that could become, for the first time, a true network experience, something that people played. There's a lot of complexity to MOBAs, and there's a lot of complexity to TIE Fighter, but if you took a TIE Fighter style game and gave it that kind of esports structure, I wonder if you wouldn't have a lot of success. People are very accepting of that kind of granular, high skill level.
Feels like there could be a high skill ceiling in a game like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Also, make it for Battlestar.
Oh, Galactica, that'd be amazing. I want to fly a Viper so bad.
Yeah, I love dreadnoughts versus small fighters. I think that's always such a cool dynamic, especially if there's people doing the dreadnought.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there used to be this. You know what? I'm going to rant if I keep. I shouldn't talk about Air Warrior. I want to so bad.
Air
right now.
Warrior.
Oh, Air Warrior was so good. Final
There's
call.
also
Crimson Skies.
Does Star Trek Bridge Crew count? A space
No.
sim?
I love that game.
It does not. I do like Bridge Crew.
Yes, exactly.
What are you doing?
That's what you do in
That's
Star
what playing
Trek.
Star Trek Bridge Crew is like.
Yeah, you can dance and your character like perfectly dances.
Yeah. So if you look around, all your teammates are just going like.
Yeah.
And you have these big meat hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all like, lady aliens too, which is really great.
All right.
I would have been Bridge Crew.
It's very funny.
Now is the time on GameScoop when we play Video Game 20 Questions.
Oh, boy.
We have a great suggestion this week that comes from Doug in Ohio. Everyone knows how this works. We
we
have
knew how
20
Doug was.
yes or no questions to guess the game that Doug suggested. Let the questioning begin.
Do you have another user submitted first question, Justin?
I continue to forget to bring him in here, and they were really good questions, so I feel bad. No, I don't. I'll go with the old standby.
Yep.
Does your character wear a hat? Helmets count as hats.
Yes. Wait. No, I'm sorry. I totally got that wrong. It is totally unclear whether your character's wearing a
You
hat.
can't throw us off the server.
Sorry. It is totally unclear whether or not your character's wearing a hat.
Unclear whether your character is wearing a hat.
Maybe your character drives a hat machine. That's what threw him off.
That could be it.
So guys, it's not
Maybe it's
it's not
toys.
Henry Hatsworth.
In that case, do I just say I can't answer that question, or do we count that as a question?
I don't think we count that as a
I should
question.
also point out that last week we had Andrew and Altano on here.
Yeah, but I know what you're gonna say.
Well, they guessed a game and they were wrong,
Yeah.
but then we let the game keep
That's
going.
cheating.
Everyone in the comments was like they lost, and you're right. I just wasn't sure if Andrew was familiar with that
Yeah.
rule, so I let it go on. But you're right. We're back to the normal rules.
And you even said, like, are you sure you want to guess this? And they were positive. What
But
it
I
was.
also wouldn't.
That's
I
really
knew. If you were gonna say you're disqualified, the game's over, I was gonna protest. And
You were going to protest. Okay.
yeah, because Andrew didn't know the rule.
Yeah, that's why. I was-
So he's got,
Anyway, it is unclear whether or not.
So that one
you-
probably doesn't count then.
Wear a
That's-
hat.
there's no answer to this one.
Okay,
There's
then we
no
won't.
answer.
we can count it. We'll get there.
No. We need those questions, man. We need
Was it
it.
made after 2000, January 1st, 2000?
No,
All right. Was it made after January 1st, 1990?
no.
No, we got this.
80s game.
Except for that Dragon's Lair one. That was
That was a curveball.
or 70s.
Was this game primarily
Or-
associated with a home console?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
PC
probably
game.
a PC or arcade. Is this an arcade game?
No.
Arcade PC.
PC game. So is it a PC
Game
space
Boy.
shooter?
Handheld. Also.
Yeah, it could be Game Boy. That's true.
Unlikely.
Is it a PC game?
Yes.
Okay, it's a PC game.
That makes it easier.
All right, there we go. So we know the platform, a pre-90s PC game.
Does this game have a lot to do with space?
No.
Okay, it does not have a lot to do with space.
Why would you? I'm
Is this an adventure game?
No.
I'm tripped
No,
up by
I mean-
tripped up by not knowing whether your
No.
character wears a hat or not. That's why I thought space game, because that was one of the early examples of a first-person game. First person, like I would like Ultima.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dungeon crawlers and stuff like that. Is this game set in a fantasy universe.
No.
Okay, so it's not.
Did you hear it wasn't an adventure game?
No, I did not hear that.
It's not really an adventure game. He said, it's
I feel very.
Give me an
weird
example.
about that.
Let's.
Lucasfilm or LucasArts games. They are all
No.
that type of game.
But is this game played from the first person?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a first-person PC game pre-90, but PC can be in any platform.
But not a space game or an
fantasy.
adventure game or.
What's that one that was Deadly? What's the one that's ported to NES that
Which one do you think of? Like Bard's Tale or something like that, or
first person? No,
be a
that is
first
on the
person.
NES.
Could be,
first
could be,
person.
could be a
What's the famous one?
I don't know.
Fantasy. Oh, you said
Well,
it
it's not
was
a fantasy game.
That's right.
It's not a fantasy
Wait,
game.
okay.
What about a text adventure? He said, is a text adventure first person?
Well, it would be.
Let me clarify. Is it played from the first person viewpoint? Like visually?
Wait. Yeah. And you already asked that question, right?
Yeah. But
Just ask if it's a text adventure or not.
it's not but it's played from the first person viewpoint, so it can't be a text adventure.
Yeah, it can because it's like
This is very esoteric, but my argument would have been that text adventures will say you do this,
yeah.
you do that. So
Yeah.
does that count as first person? But I meant visually.
It's
graphically.
not an arcade game. That's a huge clue.
I mean, it could be an FPS, 80s FPS, a very early 80s FPS.
There are examples. It could be a light gun. No, it's not a light gun game because it's on PC.
I mean, is Wolfenstein out by then?
No,
89,
Wolfenstein's later than that.
90 maybe?
Yeah, Wolfenstein's after that.
Not
It's
much.
90s.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What's the
Not an
dumb
89
screen
game.
by screen procedural RPG game?
What are you thinking about?
NetHack?
No. It's just Deadly Tower. Or,
No, Deadly Towers is a terrible, terrible NES game that's sold for like third person.
But there's one like that on PC.
What are you thinking about? I mean,
All right, I'll get to it.
all right.
I'm
What's
sure
the-
That's kind of an adventure game, so it's not that.
I'm tripped up by a first-person game that's not an adventure. Well, we didn't. Is it an RPG?
what-
No.
You said fantasy.
I
game.
said fantasy. Yeah.
That's 10.
Are there sports games that are like that?
Probably from that period. I can. Think
It's
of
not a
few.
space game or an RPG.
Like a baseball game or something?
Maybe we need to nail down genre, or we should ask some of the. Was it well received questions? We could ask questions about.
Yeah, they're almost always well received. Otherwise, they're not remembered.
We could ask.
I mean,
questions-
we know it's not
license.
adventure or RPG or fantasy.
We could
at
ask
this
about
point.
licenses. There weren't a lot of.
Oh yeah,
licenses,
are there
but later-
sequels?
Yes.
There's sequels. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So it's not Daggerfall. It's not. Okay. Wow. It's not an adventure game. That's going to drive me nuts.
And we said it's a PC game because
That is a
outside of
world
King's
of video
Quest, that whole thing, it's hard for
No,
me to.
we need to narrow this down a little more.
Do you? Is there combat in this game? You fighting things?
No.
No combat.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
To get a no on, especially. Right?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Okay, so that takes a lot of things out. It's not Zork. It's not, well, that's fantasy anyway. But it's
Do you
not,
think it's like battle chess?
No,
fir-
because Battle Chess isn't first person.
It's a first person.
Sure, it is.
Well, crap.
It could be a god game. Oh,
Battle chess would be such a funny one, but yeah, it could be populous.
Oh, it could be SimCity.
No, but that's not first person.
Huh? Well, again, you're.
Because
We
you're
already
not
had
playing.
some
You're
cities.
not a character in a blimp playing running the city.
Is this a sim
Could be
game?
populous though.
No.
Okay, it's not a sim. Wow. Okay, we are going the wrong way here.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
Is this game typically played with a joystick?
No.
Okay.
So keyboard? Is that?
Whoa.
So
It's not a
joystick,
question.
right. Yeah, it's not a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not one of the games that would, because there were a lot of PC games you played with sticks. Well, we are in the wrong place.
But it's
here.
first person.
Yeah, the first person thing's really tripping me up. No,
Oh.
first person non-combat, but not really an adventure, but maybe kind of an adventure.
Yeah, Oregon Trail's third person, because you see the guy, you see the.
I swear Damon someday is going to trip us up, and it's going to be stick and ball, and it's not a video game at all.
It
Who's
can't,
this
it can't be a Oregon Trail.
No, it can't be Oregon Trail because Oregon Trail's third person.
I don't get what games you play with keyboards and not joysticks.
There are first person sections in the original Oregon, but I don't think anybody would ever use that.
I mean, I seriously can't think of a game before 1990 that wasn't text adventure that you wouldn't play with a joystick. That doesn't make sense.
There are a lot of keyboard games still from that period. A lot of the RPGs would fit, but it's not an RPG. Okay, so let's see. Puzzle, sports, sim.
We didn't ask about puzzle. We
Yeah.
asked about adventure game.
Right.
Is it a
Puzzles-
puzzle game?
No.
It's not a puzzle game.
Why'd you make that face?
It's not a sim,
There are
so it's
gray
not a
areas,
god
but
game.
No, it's not.
All right.
15. 5 questions
I don't know
left.
I'm worried about this.
Played a lot of games.
PC
in
is
this
not
period.
my expert area.
It is Jared's though.
Yeah, this is something I know a lot about. I know.
I'm gonna sow the seeds. I'm gonna.
Do you think our questioning is going well so far?
No, I think
not a
we're
question.
Not really.
terribly narrow here.
I'm gonna go ahead and just set the stage. I'm gonna sow the seeds that I'm gonna lay this defeat at Jared's.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
There's sequels.
There are sequels to this.
No, that's right. I forgot about that question.
All right.
And it still could be from the 70s. We never.
It could be, but it's very unlikely, especially since there's combat.
Is there
Colossal
anything that we
Cave
talk-
Adventure would fit technically.
They said it's not an adventure game.
Yeah,
which
it's not an adventure game, so it's not Colossal Cave.
It was also played from the first-person perspective. That's what's tripping me up. Like a PC game from the 80s
There
that's
are
not
ones.
a space game or RPG. I'm like, I can't think of any. Like that's all of them.
There's Faceball. I mean, that comes to mind immediately, which is a first-person shooter.
What's games where you move through mazes and do stupid like
Faceball.
I know
That's the
Faceball's
first
one.
one.
I know that, but not that game.
Hunt the Wampus?
I mean, maybe
would be-
Faceball. I don't know.
It's not Hunt the Wall.
Let's see, Faceball, Hunt the Wampus.
Could it be Battle Chess?
No, because again, that's you're looking down. That's third person. You're controlling.
But you're
pieces.
moving the pieces.
Yeah, but the pieces are.
The board is in front of you.
The avatar.
The board is in front of you.
I would argue that Battle Chess is first person. I'm with
Yeah.
Sam on this.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
You're not playing as the pieces. You're a chess player.
All right.
But Damon thinks we're not on the right questioning scheme anyway, so.
All right, 5 questions left. Let's start.
Does this game include memorable music?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
Let's ask it.
And you
was
said
this
it
game-
wasn't in arcades, right?
That's
Yeah, I said it was not an arcade game.
Was this game well received?
There's a lot of great
Is
games
Is
in it.
this game beloved?
Yes.
It's a beloved, well-received game. Oh, wait a minute. It could be Ball Blazer, but that appeared on consoles.
A beloved PC game.
Rescue on Fractalus would fit. Ball Blazer. No, Rescue on Fractalus is a space game. Ball Blazer is not.
What
a
are the
space game.
stupid games you played in school a lot? Like
That's what I'm
Number
thinking about right
Munchers or
I played
Oregon
Shufflepuck
Trail.
Cantina.
But these are all
Yeah.
third-person games.
Is it Shufflepuck
It's
Cantina?
the first-person thing that's throwing me.
What's one where you like go through mazes, like anything like that?
Kind of hitting.
Is this a maze game?
No.
No, I didn't think it was.
3
most of us
questions
played with
left.
sticks. PC. Is this ever a packet C64?
Do you think the developer's still in business?
There's sequels. That's
Could it be a
what's
sports
driving me
game?
nuts.
Are there any sports games in first person?
There are a couple,
What?
but I don't think it would be.
But they're not popular, well-received games.
Most of them were not.
'Cause Madden came out then.
Yeah, Madden came out around. You had Madden. You had bowling. There's some bowling games in that period.
Bowling,
some
that's
baseball
really cute,
games.
yeah.
There's a football game that was first person with that.
And we
period.
didn't find out if it was a licensed
No,
game?
we didn't ask about licenses.
Is that important?
At this point,
Is it
don't.
based
Alright.
on a license?
so near the edge?
No.
Oh man.
2 questions left.
We're not going to get this one. But we're going to try. We're going to rally and try. And we asked if it was a sim, right?
We asked about an adventure game. We asked about a sim. It's not adventure. It's not sim. It's first person. It's not space. It's not fantasy. It's not RPG. Jeez, what in the world?
What are we missing,
is
Sean?
There's no combat. There's no
No
combat.
That's the part that's.
I don't know.
I should know this.
I don't know.
What beloved games are there that are none of these things that have no combat in them?
Yeah. Which ones?
Which ones indeed?
Beloved, no.
That are not fantasy.
All right, if we're not going to get there, we got to bring it home.
All right.
Is the developer still in business?
No.
developer's gone?
Why are all your answers have to be no?
Last question, you have to either guess. I mean, if you don't guess it, then
A defunct developer
Yeah,
that
throw a
made
guess
a
out there.
beloved 80s PC game
It's not Lemmings.
that's played with a
You
keyboard.
guys talk for a minute. Buy me some time to think.
That's played with a keyboard that
It's not Arkanoid.
I give up.
Yeah, I keep thinking of adventure games.
We should just ask if it's Battle Chess.
your question has to be a guess.
Is it Battle Chess?
It is not Battle Chess.
What
Okay.
is it, Damon?
In 1985,
Yeah.
developer and publisher Broderbund. Do you know it now?
Lode Runner?
Released the single-player edutainment title.
Yeah.
Where in the world
It's Carmen Sandiego.
is Carmen Sandiego?
That was that early?
1985.
I would have never guessed that. I think that was a 90s game.
No,
You know
it
what
was
we should have-
85 and
in the
I played it.
That's crazy. I didn't think
played
that was
the
possible.
crap out of this in the 80s.
First of all,
Oh,
I'd call
he's-
that an adventure game.
Yeah.
You think it is an adventure game?
I also
That's
might-
why I asked you to clarify. You said LucasArts
It's
style
played-
game, and
that's-
it's
yeah,
not
that's
a LucasArts style.
It's played with
I-
keyboard.
Well, I guess you blamed it on me, but
Like you do travel the world.
Did
but
we
it's
ask?
not-
Did we ask puzzle game?
Yes, it was a puzzle game, yeah. And I said, no, it's not really a puzzle game.
No, it's
First person?
It's not a puzzle game.
It is first person?
It is played from the first person.
How is it not a
technically.
puzzle game?
It's not a puzzle game. It's about
gotta
it's a
clues.
detective game. It's more.
Yeah,
it's
it's like
closer to an
detective
adventure game. No,
I think we're all picking apart the rules, trying to make Damon the front man. It was our
and truly beaten here.
yeah, that was a
I was thinking Oregon
perfect
Trail.
like
I went to
question.
Yeah, like
school.
next to Oregon Trail, what's a more
Yeah,
famous
Oregon
piece
Trail
of
for
the
launchers.
80s?
You were so close.
Sam was right there with what games do we play in school?
But yes, it was available by
That
Broderbund
was the
for the
only
Apple
option.
II in 1985. I played it then because we had Apple IIs in my school.
If we
then.
would have asked educational title,
Yeah.
maybe, but I still think of
That's
it.
why I thought,
My
like-
'90s experience was like Carmen Sandiego. Like
Yeah.
that's what I remember it
Yeah.
from. I remember it from the show and all that stuff. That's all. in the
It's an
90s.
old
can we have
property.
Rockapella
That's so
play
crazy
us
it
out
was out
on the
that
show?
early.
Yeah.
But then I think back, and I do remember it for like a black and white Apple Plus. Mac
it,
Plus.
It had It had color graphics. It had 6-color Mac graphics or 6-color.
Because I
Apple
only remember it
graphics.
black and white, and that's really
I did not remember if it had memorable music.
It did not have memorable.
the show did.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Oh, yeah.
not true. It had bum 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 like when you get close. Yeah.
I remember that.
Great choice.
Yeah, that was
That's
a
really good.
perfect choice, and I need to turn in my 20
Comes
questions
from
card.
Doug in Ohio.
I failed
Awesome
this,
work,
guys.
Doug.
Thanks
that
for
was
nothing,
really
Doug.
good.
Yeah, it's really good. Before we go this week, what are we going to be playing this weekend?
I'm going to be chewing the bitter pills of disappointment after this.
You want to play some Carmen Sandiego to get your spirits back up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have
Jared's going to be playing Ghosts and Goblins.
I probably will be playing Ghosts and Goblins.
We're going to try to beat it this Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
By we, I mean he's going to be sitting at my desk. I'm not actually going
Let's
to be
see if I can break through that stage 4 barrier I'm currently caught at.
Heaven help me, I started playing World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, that's what you said. Wow.
I'm level 61. It's going very well. My character's name is Book because I've been squatting
cute.
on that name for literally like 8 years. I've just had the character
Wow,
sitting
that's
there.
awesome.
And so then I deleted it and in a few terrifying minutes remade that character to start over
You
fresh
got
at
it,
level
man.
1.
Yeah.
I'm leveling Shadow Priest.
I'm playing through Kentucky Route Zero with my wife. I've played it through before on my own, but she's never played it, so we're playing together.
You're not
That's
waiting
really
for the
cute.
final episode?
No, I tend to take episodic games as they come, and so I'm really excited because it's a game I love, but it's a great game to watch someone else play because they'll go different ways and do different things than you did, and
Yeah.
you can kind of be there helping out, and that is a delightful.
I've never
video
played
game.
that game.
It's a fun adventure game, a storytelling
Wonderful.
game. It will
beautiful.
run on the crappiest PC you can imagine, and it's just there's not many excuses for not giving this one a try. It's cheap, it's good, it's utterly unique. There's nothing quite like it.
Is it Carmen Sandiego?
Man, I'm mad about that.
I'm going to be playing Pokemon Go. Haters going to hate. My wife and I are having a great time playing Pokemon Go. We go out on the weekends. We go to other places, see new things. It's really fun. I only have a few more Pokemon to catch. That's my weekend gaming.
man.
I also
Sorry, Damon.
You don't have to apologize.
I broke down and picked up a copy of Forza Horizon 3. I don't know why I said broke down. I said broke down because I play one racing game every 4 or 5 years to
This
get
is
my
the one.
fill of the whole genre, and I decided Forza. The 9.5 on IGN convinced me. And it
Supposed to
is.
be really good.
We have to play Sorcery 4 too.
Oh, and I have Sorcery 4 in my backlog. Forza is excellent so far as someone that doesn't play as a racing game, whatever you would call me, novice.
Not an
newbie.
aficionado. The
Not an
opposite of an aficionado.
Yeah.
Hater.
It's got here's underrated feature. It's got a rewind button. And so, like, it makes me feel like a race. I win every race in first place, but I just edit out the parts where, like, I crashed into the wall, and I'm like, nope. That never happened. That never happened. Instead, I
Do
took
you
that
run out
corner.
of rewind meter?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't yet. I don't think so. I think I don't speak for the developers, but my hunch is like,
Prince of
hey,
Persia over here.
if you're playing this game single player, why not just let people?
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah, just rewind.
I've been playing more Darkest Dungeon because it's out on PlayStation 4 and Vita
nice.
now, and it's really, really good.
Yeah. I never
give it a
finished that
whirl.
game. I should go back to it.
I hadn't played it in like a year, and they've updated it and improved it,
Yeah.
done some balance tweaks.
Beat
It's
the,
really good.
I got to go back and beat the Darkest Dungeon. It's the final dungeon. It's not just the.
My manor is called Darkest Damon.
Man, I'm going to go boot up Apple M and play some Carmen Sandiego now as penance.
You can squat on that name for 8 years.
Which one?
Still have it. Darkest Damon.
Yeah, should probably do that. All right, that's all the scoops we have for you this week. Remember, if you want to come and hang out with us, you can on October 15th at our 20th anniversary house party here in San Francisco. Go to 20yearsofgaming.eventbrite.com. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Sam.
Thank
My
you.
name is Damon. This is IGN Game Scoop. We're out.